I'm here drinking a Celsius, and Divya and I are impromptu gonna have a little conversation. So hopefully she will join soon. You guys, happy Saturday. We're here. We're trying to get caffeinated because I'm tired. Anyone else? Anyone else tired? That's about today. Me and Div, back at it.
I love this.
I can't believe it. This is the weirdest thing because we didn't have a little catch up before. We just jumped on.
We really just went for it today. We were like, you know what? We're not even going to have a little pep talk before. We're not going to make sure that like we're both good. We're there. We're here.
Yeah. I feel like that's partially like the point of today.
Yeah.
Is kind of just the check-in of like, well, basically, I mean, not that anyone knows or doesn't know, but Divya and I, we took a little break from doing lives, aka we've only done 2 or 3, and we took time off.
I love that.
But we were essentially just the real of it all is just life, is constantly happening, and it's just like, I think today we wanted to talk about how just mental health overall, the conversation of it, how important it is, and especially to take breaks from whatever you need to take a break from, because we're not machines. And I think Zane, we're not machines. We love you. We're not machines, and as much as this world tells us we have to just keep going and be driven, and I think Divya, you and I have been pretty honest with each other in the past, since we started this, oh wait, we have to figure out a balance of how to be healthy within this frame, because so much stuff life hands us is just exhausting. And I think especially in the time of COVID, we're all kind of faking that we're okay when we're not okay.
Yeah, I was going to definitely say, to your point, I've always been told this phrase, and I think it's probably from when I was 22, 23, 24, especially when I was trying to get sober. I remember how much the 12-step programs, and I'm speaking from my experience only, are really much like fake it till you make it. And in that regard, for drinking alcohol, I get that, because you're just going day to day and it's one day at a time. And I think it's super important that we remember in our lives that faking things actually leads to destruction. I don't ever, it's insane. It's insane, because for me, if I fake it, how long can I fake it? What does faking it look like to the people around me? And what's that threshold that is going to make me hit a wall where faking it won't actually work, because people can read between the lines? And I think in the past few months, for both of us separately, I think we've faked a lot of things, and we've tried to make sure that everyone else around us is okay. But I think we had to take a break and really be no, it's okay to not be okay. And I think that a lot of people have said that to me recently, and it's really resonated, because I think that we're still in a pandemic. We're still all living at home still, pretty much. And we're still our lives are just still in a bubble, and there's a new variant. I mean, every day is different, and the world is chaos. But I think everyone has to be selfish at times. And I think that we both have realized in the past few months that selfishness actually is giving back to the people in our lives. And I mean that by, if I'm filled up, I can give you more as a friend, as your friend. If you call me and you go, Div, it's been a day, it's been a week, and I'm filled up because I took time for myself, what a better friend I get to be to you. But also I'm at my full tank of gas, essentially, and I get to give you anything that you need. But when we're depleted, and I think we both hit a depletion absolutely near our birthdays, I think even after that, but it's wild that we fake it till you make it is always said to us, and like and like people want us to do that, and it's like, man, like that's so damaging to your heart and your mind and your body. And like I think that I'm realizing even as I get older that when I feel like bad, I physically am like worried about what it's doing inside of me now. Like I'm like, oh man, like I don't want to get sick.
Yeah.
Like anxiety, depression, what does that cause internally? And like I don't know, I think at 34 I can't fake it anymore. Like I actually don't think I could, because I think the people around me would read that. Like they would be like, Divya is not like being Divya. So yeah.
Dude, that was beautifully said, like in every way. And I think you're hitting so many points, and the fact is, like, we can do that. Like we can fake it, and we can, we can just keep going, but it's not sustainable. And it's not, like you said, like it's damaging internally. Like the anxiety that comes up, or the panic attacks, or depression, whatever, like we might have naturally, and then add on top of it just what life throws you, and it's like, you can't, we're only human. And maybe also I think another aspect of it might be like some people might just be a little bit better at, like, I don't know, I guess I think about, not better, but I think about like motivational speakers, and I love that stuff. Like I like live for it. I'm like, give me Mel Robbins, give her to me, Brendan Burchard. But ultimately, and I think that it's so important, those things are so important, but also at a certain point, like you actually can't follow their advice unless you're looking for burnout. It's like, and especially if you hit that point. But dude, it's been like, and I feel like there are times, and I feel like today was one of those days, at least for me, like where I'm at mentally, I'm like, I could easily have been like, no, I'm good, I'm not gonna have a conversation, like I'm chill, I'm gonna chill on the couch. And then I guess in some ways I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna get ready and I'm gonna like talk, because sometimes that is equally as important. But I guess that's very polarizing. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, I just think so much of our culture is just like media feeding us, like, get out there and do all these things, and you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And as much as that's wonderful, it is exhausting to try to keep up with things. And especially when you're going through stuff personally, like whatever that is for whoever it is, it's just hard to not feel like you're lying when you're like, oh, I'm like going work. And especially if you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish out of all your hard work. It's just like, I don't know if I'm speaking English right now.
No, yeah, you are.
I'm doing all the certifications.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at least for me, like I feel like my highs are high and my lows are low at sometimes, and like I feed off of the highs that I get, and I really feed off of the lows that I get. But I think that what I'm realizing, or I keep telling myself, because I feel like, who knows if words of affirmation or saying positive things are actually something that actually works. Like I don't know if I've ever tested the theory enough to be like, oh, when you speak in the mirror every day and you say you're beautiful, eventually you believe that you're beautiful. But and if it's worked for people, I think that's commendable. But I have been saying recently to myself that comparison is the thief of joy. And I think I've been saying that because it is so easy. And that's how rabbit holes start in my life. Like I'll see something and I will latch on to it. And then I'm thinking, oh, wow, like I mowed the lawn today and I like made a turkey sandwich and like I did work and that was my day. And then I see other people's days. And again, perception's reality to a lot of us. And that, wow, like my life's boring, or like I'm not doing enough, or I see people going and like taking lavish vacations where I'm like, man, I'm just paying my mortgage and paying the bills and doing the things. And like, I really wish I was making that much money, or I wish I was like that person in that particular time. But like, again, I think I'm trying really hard to like revert my thought process, because it's really like, I think why I get burnout so much, at least for me, is that like I emotionally, one, I think I've been better at not taking on people's emotions, but I think two, I really tried to stop thinking that what I'm seeing is reality, because it's like for sure not reality. Like every single person, and even like people who are celebrities have said it. Like they've been like, this isn't actually my life. Like my life is like playing with my dog and eating cereal in the morning, and you just see these things that I want you to see. Doesn't like, and I think for me, like that's probably where my burnout comes from, because I think so much, and I think it's just mental exhaustion. Sometimes it's not even something physical. Sometimes it's just like we can take ourselves some like down such dark holes really quickly. And I think that when they pile up as much as they have over the course of the last few months for myself and for you separately, like I think that we just like, you hit a point where you're like, I literally can't give anyone else anything, nor my partner, nor myself. And I think we have to retrain our minds to remember, like, I come first, my partner comes first, my family comes first, and then I can be there for other people. But I think that like when we're younger, I feel like, or at least for me, I was giving out all of these cards to call me, like in an analogy of like, I'm here, I want friends, I want you to like me, and all these things. And it's like, actually, like, I actually don't want any of that anymore. Like, it's weird that you really do change when you get older. And I think our parents have said it, and people who are older than us have said it. But I think that like, we got to cherish our alone time and our personal time. And I think that like, what I'm trying to do more is trying to be more intentional about the things I do and like what I try to see. I think I've like really unfollowed a lot of things that weren't bringing me joy. And I've made sure that like I'm only seeing, you know, like things that like I won't look at and say, why isn't that me? Like, why can't I go do that? Like, and for me, I don't know if it's fame or not. I don't know if I've really dug that deep, but I don't even know what I'd be famous for, which would be really funny because I think it'd be really cool. But I also think like, man, what would I do if I was famous? Like, would I just be Divya Rosenberg, famous for like talking on these lives? That'd be kind of cool though. But like, I'm not saying I want it. I'm just saying, I think I'm circling back because I lost track of my thoughts. Comparison is the thief of joy. And that's what starts my downward spiral sometimes, is why don't people like me? Why haven't they texted me back? Why are they hanging out without me? Why wasn't I invited? And why do I see pictures of things that like make me not happy? So.
Ooh, dang, I feel like, I don't know, you're on like another plane right now of wisdom and like articulation. I'm like, dang.
Which is weird because we didn't even talk before.
I know, that's why I'm like, wait, everyone's getting the real of what I usually get, and I'm kind of jealous. I'm like, you're not allowed. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, and anything in between, this is Divya, and she's smart and wise, and no. I'm just so thankful that we're doing this kind of thing, because you do have, I mean, I've gotten to reap the benefits of your wisdom throughout the years, and just being able to see you have a conversation and have other people be able to listen to it is like so rad. And
I'm only as good as the people I surround myself with. Like it really, and I mean that because I think that me and you have grown together, which is so weird. Most people can't say that. Most people can't say they've watched somebody grow. I mean, for better or for worse, like we have grown. Like we've grown apart, we've grown back together, we've grown separate. I mean, like it's crazy. And I think that like we both have brought a lot to the table, which I think is really important, because like you and me have gotten closer since I've lived away from LA than when I lived in LA together. And now I'm coming back to LA soon, and it's gonna be crazy.
I know. That's like, dude, the fact that you're coming back like is just the most exciting thing to me in the whole universe. And I'm sure that in part we can do something in person, which is amazing, or we can continue this because still, like you said earlier, we're still in a pandemic that's very much real, and Yeah, Zane.
Zane, I'm coming back to Los Angeles. Yes, I am. I know. It's crazy. But I want to know about you, because like I'm curious to know if you have the same things about this, because I think that like I always love asking people, like, where does it start? And if you can actually figure out where it starts, you can kind of maybe walk yourself back and like, you know, figure out like how to like change that part. This is the best.
I mean,
like,
yeah,
we're excited. I'm excited.
It really is the best news. When you text me, I thought you were kidding, and
I know like, a lot of people thought I was joking.
I was like, if this is a lie.
I think it's crazy because Brienne is like, she's like ready to go. She's ready to move back by December, and I was like, I didn't think that we were going to do it that quickly, but it was really funny. I was like, oh yeah, like I guess we can figure out and make it happen. But like, yeah, I think we're both in a stage in our lives, separately and together for sure, that LA is where I need to be, where my heart is, where her heart is now. So yeah, but yeah, go back to your thing. I want to hear about yours.
Well, I mean, just kind of piggybacking on what you were saying. It's so interesting because I had an experience. Well, I've been out of town, as you know. I've been out of town from LA for like 10 days. And so I just got back, and it was my husband's birthday. Great times.
Happy belated birthday, Greg.
Shout out to Gregory. So it was amazing and wonderful. And then when I came home, 2 nights ago in particular, I just found myself, because I had nothing else to do, I was just like scrolling Instagram just like aimlessly, which I know that kind of everyone does. I don't typically do that. I stopped doing that during COVID in particular. I set like a limit on my phone, just because it wasn't healthy for me. But I found myself doing it 2 nights ago, and I tell you, like, I got depressed pretty quickly, where I was like, man, like I'm not, I'm just sitting on the couch, which I love, actually. Sitting on the couch is like my favorite thing. But I was like, oh wow, this is like pretty lonely and isolating. And like you said, comparison being the thief of joy, you're just scrolling like it's so funny too. And I think you know this about me. I'm definitely, and we've talked about this before in last, but I'm definitely an ambivert. I'm not like only introverted and only extroverted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I do need to recharge. I was talking to someone last night about this, actually. I do need to recharge. Mm-hmm. And so it's wonderful to sit on the couch, but then there are those nights or times when I'm like, it's not good. And so there's this weird thing where I definitely don't think scrolling or like mindlessly looking at anything on YouTube or whatever, I don't think that that's healthy probably for anyone. Just because it takes you out of the present, and how, but also, it's boring to just sit in silence. So, it's not like just sit and do nothing, but anyway, I'm just jumping around, but I guess it was just so interesting to me because I felt like coming from like being around my husband and, having a conversation with someone to like being alone, how quickly I jumped into just like mindlessness. Yeah. And then from there, I was like, wow, I feel so lonely, even though I've been alone for, I don't know how many hours, like 10 hours or something like that. And I guess, and like you were saying, it's like, you can look at where everyone else is, or like, even not where everyone else is. I think for me, a lot of it comes from like comparison with, music, or songwriting or whatever. Like that's kind of something for me that I definitely struggle with, wanting to be doing the same things or wanting to be doing more. So it's really tough to not get sucked into that stuff. And like, of course, like that's human too. Like it's human to be like, I want that. And like that, but then like you're saying too, I do get to a point where thankfully, and I know it's because there's so much that I have to be grateful for, but I look at my life and I'm like, ooh, I have so much. I'm so blessed in so many ways. And yes, I've been through a lot. And
yep.
as you know, Divya, and like, you know, there's still things that happen that are real and hard and like whatnot. But yeah, I think it's important to remember all that you do have. And I guess I want to be sensitive about that, because there are people that maybe don't feel like they have anything to be looking forward to or thankful for. And that's another conversation that I would say, you know, that's awful. And I hope though that there's at least one thing, even like just waking up in the morning, that you can be like, wow, I get to have another day and I get to make the choice to like love myself. That is the real key. Because like you can only, like you said at the beginning, like you can only show up for other people when you can show up for yourself. And when we have nothing left, which is kind of what, you know, the whole point of today is, like when we have nothing left and we are continuing to just swallow our, you know, exhaustion and just keep going forward, sometimes it's really the worst thing for you. And you really are going to hit a burnout. And I don't know, I guess I'm also just, I feel like I've been riding that wave for so much of this the past couple of months that I'm like, when's that gonna end? I feel so tired. Like, just tired of like I guess tired of riding those emotional waves. And I am more emotional, not a crier, but I'm more emotional and I feel a lot all the time. And I was even telling Greg that for me, you know, you're saying like you think so much. I think so much of my thinking is actually feeling. Like it's like so like it's so enmeshed that like I can't think and not feel. And so maybe that's also why I get so depleted, because I'm like overthinking, overfeeling kind of constantly. And when I'm not, I'm almost like looking for that in some dysfunctional way. Like, well, why am I not feeling something? And yeah, it's pretty messed up.
So crazy.
It's like enmeshed. Yeah.
It's super interesting because one, I want to tackle some of the things you said. So I totally, the mindlessness of social media is insane. Like I have deleted Instagram and re-added it multiple times. Like I think that, like, I hope that everyone who watches this now or later can raise their hand and be like, yeah, I've done that. Facebook, Instagram. I don't understand Snapchat or TikTok because I'm old, but I definitely like deleted things and like re-added things. But the mindlessness of it, I think what's interesting about present day social media is that you can really curate it, thankfully. And I think a lot of people, and I hope people really realize that, because I think that if you're going to be on it and if you're going to lay on the couch and you're going to scroll mindlessly, then I hope you know that you can take away things that could cause negative thoughts or that downward spiral or that dark hole. Because I think that that's what I'm learning is like, if I don't want to see something, I will not continue to see it anymore. And I don't know if that's just me pumping the brakes a little this past month or two and been like, okay, I need to reevaluate this because this isn't healthy for me. This isn't healthy for my partner. This isn't healthy for my future. Like, I mean, and I want to be on social media. I like it. There's parts of it that I love. Like I'm like a celebrity junkie. I mean, I don't get starstruck, but I think it's just crazy that I somehow know about people's lives that I don't know. And I think it's funny. Like I love Joshua Jackson. I love his wife, Jodie Turner.
The best thing I've ever heard.
I love him. I don't know why. Dawson's Creek. I think Pacey was like always my thing. And I'm a lesbian, but I think like I love Pacey. And so it's just those little things that do bring me joy. And I'm like, okay, I need to focus on the things that bring me joy. Like, right, if some people like makeup tutorials, watch makeup tutorials and bring that joy, you know? Like, if you like watching Dancing with the Stars, follow all the people who are going to be on Dancing with the Stars. Like, I think that we have to also take responsibility for the things that we're doing, because I think that for me also was a thing, because I was like blaming things that were like so out of control, but also insane for me to blame. And I'm like, no, because then I'd be angry, then I'd be frustrated, and then it would spew out into other areas of my life. And I'm like, what? But also, I mean, a big change for me happened, and I think I felt exactly how you felt about thinking and feeling. I think they were connected as one. If I was thinking something, I was emotionally in turmoil, because I was like, am I feeling things from from 5 days ago? What am I feeling now? Because my thoughts are from a month ago, but am I feeling those feelings now? Like, it's as if they were like delayed reactions. And then like, I feel them so powerfully that we're like so overcoming. And I think I ended up like going on medication, and I never thought in my years of living, although I was insane at times and suffered from depression, that I'd ever go on medication. And I think that, I'm not saying anyone should do anything, but I'm saying for me, I somehow found like a glove that fit perfectly, and it made it so that things didn't feel so intense, and it gave me the opportunity to separate my feelings and my thoughts. And that was such a game changer for me, to be able to articulate, to not feel so heightened about things, and to be able to like really have like these thoughts. And like, again, could I have done it on my own? 100%. Would it have taken me personally, Divya, a lot longer? Yes. And I think I hit a point where I was like, my highs and my lows were just not like adding up anymore. I was just like, man, I think like from, gosh, I feel like the past year, to be honest, in my life, with what happened with all the situations that have conspired, I think I was just like, whoa, like I have never been that depleted and not been able to fill up as quickly as I did. And I think this past year with COVID and, you know, the world, and I think that me and you both, we feel so much, so strongly, so quickly, that like it envelops us. I mean, it just like emotions wrap around us, and they can be really consuming and really like claustrophobic and suffocating, because you're like, how do I get rid of this? Like, what do I do? Like, and how do I get out of this? Like, and you just, especially in the moments, like, I think me and you separately have watched each other where it's been like, I want to help, but like, you don't even know how. Like, there's just nothing that can be said or done in that moment, because the feelings are what's going to overtake you, not the logic or reality, or maybe like, even like, because you've faked it till you tried to make it and didn't make it. And then you just like hit that place where you're like,
wait, well, that is such a good line though. Like, cause that's the whole thing. It's like fake it till you make it, but it's like fake it till you make it. But what if you don't make it? Or what if making it is takes so much longer, and how long can you fake it?
Yeah. That's a question.
How long? Like, it's so, sorry. That was just so brilliant.
But and I think that that's what we have to figure out too, for ourselves individually, and for people that feel that, because it's like, I honestly feel like there are certain situations where I can fake it. If you're going to dinner with people and you meet out like everyone at the dinner, if you have to go to a party and you're like, I don't really want to be here, but I can fake it for like an hour or two.
Yeah. Like,
those are situations that are fine. Those are the reasons why you fill up, to like let those little depletions happen. But I think like when I remember my therapist said that human beings are not wired for long-term trauma. And when I heard that, we were referring to the pandemic. And I remember in the beginning, all the stories that were coming out of like, just like toilet paper was out, Clorox was out, because people were stocking up because they thought it was going to last a little bit of time. But I remember in March of 2020, so many people were like, July will be great. And now we're here in September of 2021, and we're still in this. And our bodies and minds are actually not wired for this long of trauma. And I think that we're just now starting to all individually feel the trauma and the longevity of it. Like, we're all like, wow, it's been over a year, and all of these life events are still happening, right? So like, you're still having to deal with your family that's crazy. You're still having to deal with fights with your partner. You're still having to deal with like you know, being kicked out of your house, or rent due, or bills due that you weren't able to pay. Like, life is still happening, but we are also dealing with this trauma of COVID that is a layer that we were not dealing with before. And I feel like we all have to really have a lot more compassion and grace towards ourselves first, because I think that this trauma, from a lot of therapists I know and from friends that are therapists, they've said that this is going to be long lasting. And like, that's so crazy to say. And I don't say it to put fear in anybody, but for me, I think, wow, like, I hope that everybody gets any help that they need, because it should be so much more accessible. And I think we spoke about it last time, but I think it's called BetterHelp. And it's like literally an advocate, like people are advocating it all over. And I was like, wow, like, if I didn't have insurance, I would 100% do that, because I would want to be able to talk to someone during this traumatic time. Because again, life is still happening. People get fired, people break up, people are in really weird situations. And I'm just like, man, like, we're still also having this other layer, right? Like, that's so crazy to me. I still think I still haven't conceptualized it yet, because I'm just like, wow, we're still here.
I mean, we're going through, like, I mean, I think all that I can compare it to in some ways is just like our grandparents, like stories that they would say. I mean, my grandparents I only knew two of them. And they definitely weren't the kind of grandparents that were like, these hard times. But when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, my grandfather was in the war, like in world, you know, like at war, away from my grandma, and like how much trauma. It's just, I guess I look at them in a new way now, because I'm like, you know, not to compare the two things, but as far as trauma goes, of course, it's going to react the same way to your body, whether it's, you know, trauma of a car accident or trauma of, you know, a divorce, or, you know, parents' divorce. Like, it's gonna affect you in at least like the same place. I'm sure that they're different. I shouldn't speak on that, because I'm definitely not skilled in that, you know, realm. But I guess if I could compare it to anything, like I'm, you know, saying, it's interesting to be like, whoa, we are going through some sort of version of like a world, global trauma. And we do have to have a lot of compassion on ourselves, because I think that line of like, fake it till you make it, or maybe not even make it. Well, no, fake it till you make it, like emotionally well or something. Fake it till you feel healthy. Like, it's kind of impossible right now, because you're just like, you're constantly riding that. And of course there are things that are happening, and, you know, life in some ways is much more manageable, because, you know, with vaccines, although, you know, of course you can still get COVID. I know people know that. So you do have to still be very, very careful. But with testing, I personally think that that's really helpful and makes me feel more confident when I'm, you know, hanging out with people. So we do have other things now that we didn't have at the start of the pandemic. But that being said, does everyone have access to that? No. It's very expensive. And also it's kind of like, well, I can easily also just stay home, for me at least. And but then that goes into like being alone and being isolated. And it's just, we're in such a wild time. And I think I hate asking for help, and I know we've talked about that before. And so there's a part of me that just wants to be okay and be like, I'm fine. Like, I got this. And yeah, it's a tough thing to balance, but I am in therapy, as Divya knows, and that has been largely helpful, for so many reasons. And I am finding myself being able to manage things a little bit, actually no, a lot better. I was having some serious anxiety before I started therapy, a lot, like visceral, like heart racing for who knows what. before I started a couple months ago. So I'm definitely seeing the, you know, the gifts in it already. But yeah, it's just, man, life is constantly moving, and we're just, like you said, Div, like, we're not wired for long-term trauma, and we're all collectively going through it, and it's so polarizing. There's so many different things to read and get upset about and be like, this person's wrong and this person's wrong and this person's wrong. And although that may be right, it's also like probably not healthy for us to constantly be thinking about that as well. So I don't really know if this is a message of hope or just a message of like, hey, we're human. Like, I don't know, guys.
Yeah. I don't, like, I couldn't say what today's message was, but I do have to say, you know, the only, I guess the comparison that I would have in the time that we've been alive for trauma would be that we were in a war for 20 years. I mean, like 9/11 just happened. There was it was the 20th anniversary of something super impactful, but like we also pulled out of the war after 20 years of being in it. And I think for people, I don't personally have family members in the military, but I can't imagine that must have been something that they also went through for the last 20 years, you know, for so many different reasons and so many different people. But like, I think that we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through it the best way we can. But I think the message is just taking care of yourself. I think today is self-love, saying no, fueling up, just like really just being selfish. I think people need to be more selfish right now in order to be able to be the best versions of themselves later.
Oof. Div.
Fair.
Div. And how much do we need that? We need that reminder constantly. Like, just like and obviously that can be a term that's not misused, but like, to be selfish, it's like, oh, that sounds terrible. Like, I don't want to be selfish. I want to, you know, not only think about others, but I want to put others first. And while that's a beautiful sentiment, it is going to exhaust you.
I mean, you're literally going to break. Yeah.
You're going to break. And I think like being selfish and just, and maybe also it's like exploring like what works for you. Like, okay, what's the balance that you need? Because you're an individual person that has unique needs. And maybe for you, and also maybe for you, maybe life is just like this and we're always going to have these ups and downs. But I think that's probably more the truth. But I do think like if you can find something that is even just comforting to you, like if it's, you know, TV show that you enjoy watching at night, or a cup of coffee that you enjoy, like, I think allowing yourself to, you know, give yourself those things every day, like whatever that means, you deserve it. That's kind of the bottom line.
But it's the little things, right? Like, I mean, just to like really piggyback quickly with you, it's the little things. And I think being selfish, and what I mean by that from my point of view would be like, I'm going to not go out tonight with that friend that said they wanted to go out, because I'm going to just say no, maybe another night, and watch that show I wanted to watch. That's like the little things. It's not like not being there for a friend if they're calling you and need to talk. That's like you just going, you know what? I've made coffee all week. It's the weekend. I'm going to go treat myself to a really nice latte. Like, I am talking whatever works for you in your life, in your situation. It's like, you want to go to that fancy meal that you haven't like had, go treat yourself to that fancy meal that you haven't had. And like you probably have worked hard for it. And like, I hope you know that you deserve it. It's like the littlest things. And selfishness is such a taboo word. And I think we need to normalize it, because I think that people think it's like literally just like saying F off to everybody. And it's like, that's just like not even like close to what it means present day. I think selfishness means people just taking care of themselves. And why? Because they can't help you unless they're helping themselves. And I think that people don't realize that, because that's when that I'm going to fake it. I'm going to keep burning that oil. I'm going to keep going and going and going. And I'm going to keep saying yes to all my friends and all the events and all the things and all the shifts that I need to pick up at work and like all these things. But it's like, no, like you get to say no sometimes. And that's what I think I equate selfishness to, is just saying no, but not feeling guilty about it, not overthinking it. And it's so hard. It's so hard for me. It's probably the hardest thing.
So hard. Well, because I think too, like when you're, and I think we can both connect on this, like I am definitely a people pleaser and I care way too much about what other people think of me, how I'm perceived, if they think that I'm, you know, nice, like all those things. But then I'm like, the other side of it's like, oh, they think I'm too nice. So that's confusing. But I think like, yeah, it's, I totally lost my train of thought. No clue.
Okay. Don't worry.
No idea. Where was I going with that?
No idea, but I really like that you were like so confident in that. You were like, I'm ready to say it.
I was like, I have a really just a massive point here, and I lost it. But also, that's another part. I think too, like, you know, as like people pleaser. No clue. Okay, no. I'm just gonna tell you guys that I'm a people pleaser. That was the point. I think like I'm thankful for the way that I was raised in a sense that like I'm able to kind of know, like although I might lose my words or I might be like lose my train of thought, I'm pretty confident that I can fake it to a place of like a jester. Actually, that's something that I've thought about a lot recently, like kind of comparing myself to like a jester that like performs for people and pleases them, and they just sit and they applaud me. Like I feel like that's a role that I've taken on accidentally in my life, and I'm trying to unwind that and rewire my brain to like a place where I'm not doing that, because it's not working like for me anymore. It might have served its purpose when I was younger, you know, even up to a couple years ago, but yeah, it's just not working.
I want you to, I mean,
tips. Just kidding. Don't actually give me advice, because I feel like that's another point.
Oh God.
I have rebellion against, I like Zane. I can't wait to hang with you, Zane.
We love you, Zane.
It's gonna be fun.
You know what's really funny? I don't know if Zane's here anymore, but Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On played today. I don't really want to embarrass myself too much, but I love Celine Dion.
Want to sing it?
Absolutely not. You're crazy.
Every night in my
Oh,
dreams.
Look, live concert. I don't think anyone knew that this was about to happen.
I see you. I see you. I feel you.
Yeah, I mean, you sound just like her.
That is how I know you. Maybe I should start doing.
But what's weird about the song was that it was like the movie version. So it was like people were talking while she was singing, and I was like, "What is that?" And it was Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, like, "I'll never let go." And I was like, "Why is someone talking while I'm listening to this?" I was super weirded out by that, and I was like, "Oh, it's
talking."
Yeah. I think this is that moment in time where we get to say bye, because I think
that we're burnt out, baby.
Yes.
And
we're actually gonna say this is being
shorter live. What was that?
I was saying something stupid.
I love it. I think a shorter live is better than no live at all.
I agree. I think we gave the people what they wanted and what we needed, and we'll be back. I can't even say when, but we'll be back soon, and I know we will.
Yeah, let us know if you want us to come back. Just kidding.
Please.
Let us know if you want to come back. Let us know.
How about this? What emoji should people put? I think that's so funny when people do that. I'm like, oh,
a basketball.
Okay. A basketball? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Space Jam.
That was just me off the top of my head. Well, I love you, Div.
I love you too.
Thank you for being authentically yourself and for showing up when we're tired.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you, and I'm glad we did this. I think it was weirdly what we needed, and I think it's like I feel lighter after these conversations, and I hope you do too.
I do. I always do. You teach me so much.
And you teach me.
I love you, and
I love you too.
Know you deserve a seat and a table, and let's have more conversations.
Let's do it. Have a good day. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.